That is Buster Couch, the chief starter here.
Bad news for the rest of the field. Don Garlits will waltz into the semifinals. A bye run. Big Daddy's going to run it all the way through there.
Prudhomme has a slight advantage off the line. Larson smokes the tires, too much power.
Big Daddy Garlits ruled Top Fuel for years, the methodical builder who turned chaos into science. Then a young Californian, Don the Snake Prudhomme, started beating legends on the biggest stages. Their rivalry, the craftsman versus the closer, pushed the sport to its breaking point. And when a catastrophic failure nearly ended Garlits' career, it sparked the rear-engine revolution that would remake Top Fuel forever. Validated when Garlits won the 1971 Winter Nationals with Swamp Rat 14. From his first NHRA national win at the 1963 Winter Nationals to the 1964 U.S. Nationals triumph and the first 200-mile-per-hour quarter-mile runs of the mid-60s, Garlits' front-engine Swamp Rat set the pace. He wasn't unbeatable every weekend, but he made speed look inevitable. The Florida racer had turned drag racing from weekend gambling into precision engineering. Every component on his front-engine rails served a calculated purpose. Every setup change was methodically tested, and every pass was executed with the consistency of a Swiss chronometer. While competitors threw parts at their problems and hoped for luck, Garlits documented every change, analyzed every run, and built a database of knowledge that seemed impossible to match. Hot Rod magazine featured Garlits month after month throughout the early 1960s, documenting a level of technical mastery that elevated the entire sport. His Swamp Rats weren't just fast cars. They were rolling laboratories that proved drag racing could be approached with scientific rigor instead of intuition and prayer. By the mid-60s, Garlits had established the template for professional Top Fuel competition. The long, exposed chassis of the front-engine dragster had reached its evolutionary peak under Big Daddy's development, with aerodynamics optimized for straight-line speed and weight distribution calculated for maximum traction. Most racers believed this formula represented the pinnacle of what was possible with current technology. But Prudhomme's edge wasn't a radical chassis layout. It was execution. In 1962-64, the Greer-Black Prudhomme dragster posted a 200-plus to single-digit losses match race run that became legend. And in 1965, he and Roland Leong's Hawaiian took both the Winter Nationals and the U.S. Nationals. The magazines cast it as a generational clash, the young assassin versus the Florida master. The Snake brought a different philosophy to Top Fuel racing. Where Garlits was methodical and scientific, Prudhomme was instinctive and aggressive. He had an uncanny ability to find speed in the moment, to push a car beyond its apparent limits through pure driving skill and an understanding of power delivery that seemed almost supernatural. California racing culture had shaped Prudhomme into something new, a driver who combined technical knowledge with killer instinct. He could read track conditions like a meteorologist, sense exactly when to feather the throttle or when to stand on it completely. While Garlits built faster cars through engineering, Prudhomme made cars faster through pure talent. The contrast was stark and compelling. Big Daddy represented the establishment approach, proven methods, documented results, incremental improvement through systematic testing. The Snake embodied the challenger mentality, raw talent, calculated risks, and the willingness to exceed accepted limits when victory demanded it. The racing world couldn't get enough of the story developing between these two completely different approaches to the same goal. Carcraft and Drag News covered every encounter, building narrative tension around each race where both drivers might meet. Fans began choosing sides, the scientific approach versus the intuitive method, the established champion versus the rising challenger. Prudhomme's 1965 season was a statement that couldn't be ignored. Taking both the Winter Nationals and U.S. Nationals in the same year wasn't just impressive. It was a direct challenge to Garlits' assumed supremacy in the sport's biggest events. The young Californian had proven he could perform when everything was on the line, something that separated true champions from fast drivers. The magazines framed it perfectly. Here was the master craftsman who'd built Top Fuel into a legitimate sport, facing a natural-born killer who made winning look effortless. Every race became a referendum on which approach would ultimately prove superior, methodical perfection or instinctive excellence. The tension between their philosophies extended beyond just racing technique. Garlits represented the blue-collar work ethic of building everything yourself and earning respect through consistent results. Prudhomme embodied the California dream of natural talent rising to the top through pure ability and fearless execution. Throughout the late 60s, every major event became an opportunity for these two legends to prove their respective approaches. The sport had never seen such a compelling contrast in personalities and methods competing at the highest level. Garlits would arrive with notebooks full of data and a precisely maintained machine. Prudhomme would show up with supreme confidence and an intuitive understanding of what his car needed to win. Their encounters on track were masterclasses in different types of excellence. When Garlits won, it validated the scientific approach. Preparation, documentation, and systematic improvement conquering raw talent. When Prudhomme won, it proved that some aspects of racing couldn't be reduced to numbers, that feel, instinct, and pure driving ability still mattered in an increasingly technical sport. The rivalry pushed both men to levels they might never have reached alone. Garlits found himself taking more risks, pushing beyond his naturally conservative approach when faced with Prudhomme's fearless attacks. The Snake, meanwhile, began paying more attention to technical details and setup refinement when he realized that talent alone might not always be enough against Big Daddy's relentless preparation.
Leaving the line together, but look at Don Prudhomme.
March 8, 1970, Lions Drag Strip, Long Beach. A two-speed transmission Garlits was testing exploded beneath him, shearing the car and severing part of his right foot. The sport had seen terrifying slingshot failures before, but this one lit the fuse on a safer future. The explosion was so violent that debris flew into the grandstands, and the sound echoed across Long Beach like a bomb detonating. When emergency crews reached the wreckage, they found Garlits severely injured, his right foot partially severed and his legs filled with transmission fragments. The man who had seemed indestructible was suddenly fighting for his career and possibly his life. The accident sent shockwaves through the entire drag racing community. If it could happen to Big Daddy, the most safety-conscious, methodical driver in the sport, it could happen to anyone. The explosion forced everyone to confront the fundamental danger of front-engine design. Drivers sitting directly behind explosive transmissions and engines, with nothing but their skill and luck protecting them from catastrophic mechanical failure. From a wheelchair to a welding torch, Garlits, with T.C. Lemons and Connie Swingle, built Swamp Rat 14, a radical rear-engine car. After quick learning runs at Lions and OCIR, he won the 1971 Winter Nationals, proving the concept and accelerating the class's wholesale shift to rear-engine within the next year and a half.
Getting out ahead of Garlits is next to impossible.
Oh, he really comes off that light, doesn't it?
Incredible Don Garlits.
The decision to build a rear-engine dragster wasn't just about safety, though placing the driver in front of all that explosive power was clearly smarter design. Garlits realized that the accident had given him an opportunity to completely reimagine what a top fuel car could be. If he was starting over anyway, why not start with a clean sheet and build something revolutionary? The engineering challenges were immense. Moving the engine behind the driver required completely new approaches to weight distribution, cooling, fuel delivery, and structural integrity. Everything Garlits had learned about front-engine design had to be reconsidered and often discarded, but his methodical approach served him well. He treated the rear-engine project like a master class in applied physics. Working with legendary mechanics, T.C. Lemons and Connie Swingle, Garlits documented every design decision and tested every component with the same precision that had made his front-engine cars legendary. The result was Swamp Rat 14, a machine that looked like it had come from the future and performed like nothing anyone had ever seen. The 1971 Winter Nationals at Pomona became the proving ground for everything Garlits had learned from his accident and reinvention. While Prudhomme went out in round one, Big Daddy drove his rear-engine Swamp Rat 14 to victory in the sport's most prestigious event, validating not just his recovery, but his revolutionary design philosophy. The victory was more than just another trophy for Garlits. It was proof that catastrophic failure could be transformed into evolutionary breakthrough. The same accident that nearly ended his career had forced him to pioneer technology that would make the sport safer for every driver who followed. Innovation, born from necessity, had created the template for modern top fuel racing. The racing world took immediate notice. Within the next 18 months, slingshot front-engine cars had all but vanished from Top Fuel. The front-engine era that had defined Top Fuel since its beginning was suddenly obsolete, replaced virtually overnight by a design philosophy that Big Daddy had proven both faster and safer. By late 1971, Garlits clocked a 6.21 at the U.S. Nationals, best elapsed time of the year, then set the national record at 6.26 later that season in Gainesville. Meanwhile, Lions' 1972 events produced dual 6.17 seconds at Lion 72, numbers that were hotly debated but showed how far the ceiling had moved. The numbers told the story better than any magazine article could. Rear-engine design wasn't just safer, it was faster. The superior weight distribution and aerodynamics that Garlits had engineered into Swamp Rat 14 delivered performance that made the old front-engine records look pedestrian. The sport had taken a quantum leap forward in both safety and speed. Prudhomme, meanwhile, recognized that the game had changed completely. The driving excellence that had made him a champion was still crucial, but the playing field had shifted. He began developing his own rear-engine programs while simultaneously building dominance in the emerging funny car class, where his talents would produce 4 straight championships from 1975 to 1978. Within a season of Garlits' Pomona win, front-engine top fuelers were effectively gone. Prudhomme then authored one of the great professional streaks, 4 straight funny car titles from 1975 to 78. While Garlits kept pushing Top Fuel's envelope, their rivalry didn't just fill grandstands, it rewrote the blueprint. The transformation was complete and irreversible. What had begun as a rivalry between 2 different approaches to the same goal had evolved into something much larger. A fundamental shift in how the sport approached both performance and safety. The craftsman and the closer had pushed each other to create technology that neither could have developed alone. The legacy of the Garlits-Prudhomme rivalry extends far beyond their individual achievements. Their competition forced innovation that saved countless lives and established performance benchmarks that still define top fuel racing today. Every modern dragster that runs over 330 miles per hour with drivers who walk away from crashes owes its existence to lessons learned from their legendary battles. The story proves that the greatest rivalries transcend individual victory and defeat. Garlits and Prudhomme didn't just compete against each other, they collaborated, whether they intended to or not, in advancing their sport to levels that neither could have reached alone. The craftsman's methodical approach combined with the closer's killer instinct created a standard of excellence that continues to inspire new generations of racers. Modern top fuel racing, with its combination of engineering precision and driving courage, its emphasis on both performance and safety, reflects the best of what both men brought to the sport. Every 1,000-foot pass at over 330 miles per hour is a testament to the foundation they built through their rivalry, their innovations, and their refusal to accept that anything was impossible. Their rivalry changed everything because it forced both men to exceed their own limitations. The methodical engineer became a revolutionary inventor. The instinctive driver became a technical innovator. Together, they created a template for excellence that transformed their sport and saved lives in the process. What other racing rivalries shaped the technology and safety standards we take for granted today? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more stories about the legends who built American motorsports with their courage, intelligence, and absolute refusal to accept second place.